Enigma Project.
Our own planet is only a tiny part of the vast cosmic tapestry, a starry fabric of worlds yet untold.
For the next 90 minutes, your mind shall become engaged with minds that are very much like your own. Join Paul Cagle, Sushi, and Spring Wolf as they discuss various topics and people that we all have questions about. You're taking part in the Enigma Project.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Enigma Project. My name is Paul Cagle, and tonight we will be talking about black-eyed kids and playing Truth or Tell. But first, I would like to introduce my co-hosts, Spring Wolf.
Hello.
And Sushi.
Hey, people.
How are you guys doing?
I'm freezing.
I'm tired.
Yeah, I figured Sushi would be exhausted.
I played gigs all weekend. I'm exhausted. But
And
I
by
get a few days.
By played gigs, she means drank all weekend.
Well, you know, when at this particular gig at Rock City Gardens, they call it Shamrock City, so it's kind of
I saw
cute.
that. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's really nice. And they decorate the whole place, and they play Irish music all through the park, and then they have a little setup for the bands to play, and then you can get mulligan stew and corned beef and cabbage, and it's really great, and it's a lot of fun.
I was trying to get you. Oh, go ahead.
But we get half price.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
And then, so we get half price food, half price beer. And then if you have like your glass, your Shamrock City glass that you can just bring back year after year after. I was getting $1 beers, $1 pint glasses all weekend.
Nice. So
now,
she was drunk all weekend.
Do you sing better when you're drinking?
I think I sound a lot better when everybody else is drinking.
So I was trying to get you to send me a Molly Maguire's song so that we could play it on the show.
Oh, I will. Okay, next week.
Yeah, and then you can tell everybody go ahead and tell everybody where they can get the Molly Maguire's CDs if you know, or music.
Yeah, you can't.
You can't. Well, so much of that.
I'll go find the link. It's on kunaki.com, KUNAKI.com.
Bless you.
That's our CD publisher.
Okay.
And or you have to come find but it's a lot cheaper if you come find the band.
Oh, that's well.
Because you don't have to
if you live
shipping.
in Alaska, it's not.
Yeah, I know, right? That's true.
Yeah. IKR. But before we get this,
search for Molly Maguire's, and you'll find this. And
are you guys on iTunes?
Ulta is on CD Baby. That's our publisher. We do CD Baby, so search for OLTA, Ulta. So yeah.
Opa.
Yay. Ulta. It means quite drunk in Irish Gaelic.
Yeah, I believe it. But before we get this madness started, mentioning quite drunk, I want to remind everyone to check out our blog at enigmaproject.com and check out the stuff that we have going on there. I usually update the show list with the shows that we have coming up. You can send us questions or comments from there. You can also send us questions or comments to Paul at enigmaproject.com or call the hotline at 423-521-2930. Don't forget to check out Spring's blog at springwolf.net. And please help spread the word about the show. Our next week's topic is going to be animals possessing people. So that should be a very interesting topic. I'm sorry, something happened. I'm being possessed or something, I don't know. But it's going to be animals possessing people, and that's going to be a really cool topic, so you don't want to miss that. And if you missed last week's show, then you missed our March Freeform show. And basically, we talked about Zach Bagans and his demon house and how it's been torn down. So that topic turned out really well, considering it wasn't really a topic. It was just kind of something I was like, hey, have you guys heard about this? And we talked about it. If you're listening live right now via Twitter or Facebook or one of the other ways that you can listen live, and you want to join the chat room, then go to enigmaproject.com/listen-live and that is AENIGMA, Enigma Project, and you can join the chat room and keep up with the conversations that are going on there. They usually have a lot of fun in the chat room when we are trying to, when I'm trying to run the show, so I can't keep up with it as much as I would like to sometimes. So, who is Zach Bagans? You obviously do not live in the real world. Evo said apparently he's hot and hunts ghosts. Both of those statements are correct, sir.
Yes, yes.
But now, if you are familiar with the Enigma Project, you might be thinking, Self, haven't they done this topic before? And Self would answer, yeah, who cares? But yes, we have done this topic before, and we did it back, I think it was like our third or fourth show ever that we ever did. And it was before springtime, and so I kind of wanted to go back and revisit a couple of the topics before spring came on the air, and just kind of since we're no longer with Tenacity, we can kind of do that because those shows aren't available right now. So this is one that I find very interesting, and it's the black-eyed kids phenomenon. Black-eyed kids did not appear in, I guess, media or anything like that until January 16th, 1998. And I'm just going to read you what I've got. The strange trend was first reported by journalist Brian Bethel on January 16th, 1998. According to Bethel, two boys approached him while he was sitting in his parked car. Bethel described the kids in prototypical BEK fashion, or black-eyed kid fashion, as stylish, olive-skinned kids. The boys asked for a ride home, explaining that they were on their way to the movies but had forgotten their money. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this topic or this phenomenon, a lot of the black-eyed kid stories have a similar thread running through them, in that these children come out of nowhere. They approach strangers either at their house or knock on the window of their car, and they want to be invited in. They either need a ride somewhere because they forgot money, or the parents didn't pick them up, or if they knock on your door, they need to use your phone. And everyone that is sorry, I'm losing my voice. Everyone that has allegedly encountered these beings all say that they feel very uncomfortable around them, and they can't put their finger on it, and they feel very very threatened, but in, I guess, maybe a primal sort of way. I'm not sure, but they say they feel threatened, and they say no, and the more they say no, the more these children get aggressive and almost demand to be let in, but they always need an invitation. So, or they're always seeking an invitation, I guess. There are no stories, as far as I know, of people who've actually invited them in, and so there are a lot of theories out there about what these who or what these children are, and some of them just range to the bizarre. But here's a common description of the children. Younger children, 8 to 14, hard to tell their age, black soulless eyes with no whites. And that's the other thing that a lot of people report, is that when these being, these kids are trying to get in your home or your car or whatever, that there's usually something off about them, like their clothes are a generation off, like they look like they came from the 90s instead of the 2000s or whatever, and that they always need a ride or a phone call or something. They need an invitation in, and that people feel very uncomfortable around them. And then upon further examination, they notice that there are no whites in their eyes, that they have these black, soulless eyes. And I'm just going to keep reading this. It says, always want to come into someone's house or need a ride. They're usually olive-skinned, usually show up in 2 to 3s, and only one does the talking. Allegedly cannot enter without permission, and allegedly it's a worldwide phenomenon. And I think I've read that it's happened in Scotland or Ireland, and I don't remember where, but it was somewhere not in the U.S. So what do you guys think about this? I mean, this story of these black-eyed children,
I have questions first.
such as?
Okay, this guy, Brian Bethel, who seems to be the single source of this story or the first tellings of the story, it says that he's a reporter. Where's he a reporter from? Who does he report for? Does anybody know?
Yeah, hold on just a second. I think I have this. The supposed origins of the legends are 1998 postings written by Texas reporter Brian Bethel on a ghost-related mailing list. Related alleged encounters of black-eyed kids in Abilene, Texas, and Portland, Oregon. So I'm not sure exactly who he. Let's see. He wrote a follow-up article for the, I guess I'm saying it right, Abilene Reporter News, describing his experience. So I'm not sure if that's who he actually worked for or if he was like a freelance journalist.
Okay, he wrote about this. Is this something that happened to him, or is he retelling a story? So this is something that happened to him.
As far as I know, yes.
I found something on reporternews.com about Brian Bethel recounts his possible paranormal encounters with the black-eyed kids. And in there, he has a line that says, near as I can figure, this happened in 1996. Near as he can figure, he has no idea if it happened to him. While his memory is quite good, it isn't, I don't even know what that word is. EIDETIC.
Eidetic.
Okay.
That means a perfect memory, someone who can memorize things.
Yeah, but if something paranormal like that happened to you, wouldn't you remember at the minimum what year it happened in?
Well, I had a lot of paranormal experience. Of course, I was a child, but I had a lot of paranormal experiences that happened to me as a child, and I can't even narrow down an age. I mean, well, I can narrow it down, but I can't say I was 7. It was around the time I was 7 or 8 when it started. But we moved in the house when I was 5. But again, I was a child. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Is it saying that it happened in 96 and then he wrote about it in 98?
I know it says, near as I can figure, this happened in 1996. I've managed to pin down the date that far. I feel like it happened in the spring or the summer, since I remember wearing a pair of shorts. But one of my great regrets is not recording the actual date of the event.
Okay, so he wrote the story later. But to me, that means that, like, if he waited 2 years to write the story, then I don't feel like he had an ulterior motive, like a movie or a book or anything like that. I don't know.
Well, he sold an article.
Yeah, but that's not life-changing, journalism right there.
Right. He did an interview on Destination America, and he didn't ask for compensation, or they told him they would not compensate him for the interview. And he had been asked to do interviews like this for a long time, and he finally gave in to this one, but he doesn't say why he gave in.
Maybe he felt they were a legitimate source or something, or maybe he was familiar with them.
But any money for it, it's, that tells you one thing. He's not in it for the money.
Right.
Otherwise, he would have said, no, you want my story, you have to pay for it.
Right.
Mhm.
And as far as I know, he's not written a book or anything about it. There was a Kickstarter started in 2012. The horror film Black Eyed Kids was produced with Kickstarter funding. Its director commenting that Black Eyed Children were an urban legend that's been floating around on the internet for years now. And he just goes on to say, so he didn't even do the movie. So if he's lying about this, then what is his motivation?
Oh,
Why?
here at the bottom of the article, it says that he is a reporter for the Abilene Reporter News.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
There you go.
Anyway,
I'm looking at one of the skeptic websites here, and I don't think we brought this up on the last show, Paul, but it's talking about 99.9% of the sightings occur at night, and more particularly on extremely dark, moonless nights, most often in rural areas. And a simple explanation is pupil dilation.
Well, that's
yeah, but
possible, but I don't think anyone's pupils dilate that much to make their whole eye black.
you see,
Almost, though it
one of,
can.
one of the first things I thought of, are we talking about people that just have really dark black eyes, the iris of the eye? There are people that have brown eyes where the brown is so dark it almost looks black. Or are we talking about kids who their eyes are totally black? And this sounds like the eye is totally black.
Yeah, that's what a lot of the descriptions I've read say. Black, soulless eyes with no whites. But, if it's nighttime and these weird children approach your house or your car and they want something and you're already freaked out, you could be misremembering. I mean,
Well, if it's dark, it could be hard to tell.
right. And it could be brown-eyed children that are mistaken for black-eyed children.
Mhm.
I don't know, but a lot of the stories that I've read said, black soulless eyes. And sometimes they won't look you directly in the eyes like they're trying to hide something. And I think that makes people feel uncomfortable anyway. And we did talk about on the last show that there are contacts that you can buy now that are fairly cheap that are called blackout contacts, and they black out your whole eye. And that's what they use in movies and stuff. But back in '98, I don't know if they were that cheap. They may have been very expensive, and I don't see,
Any
teenage
children
kids,
in their eyes, yeah.
going out there and buying black contacts just to mess with people.
Oh, I don't
Maybe on
think kids would do
Halloween,
that. I guess it would depend on what those kids are asking for. If they're asking for money and panhandling, if they're begging for money, begging to get into somebody's house so they can steal something, then, there are still people who teach their kids how to be con artists to get money, and they may have enough money to buy contacts for kids to send them out to do that.
But why would they do that? Because that would just put the person off. When you're trying to grift from someone or steal from someone, you want them to be as comfortable as possible. I've heard that's what you want. Not that I know. Are you guys comfortable right now? Or Sushi, are you and Spring okay? Do you need anything to drink, perhaps? No, but the last thing you want to do is have any sort of tell that lets the mark know that they're a victim. You want them to be completely comfortable.
If you scare somebody to death, they may think, oh my God, the devil is here. I better do what they say.
Well, or lock the door and, throw the Bible at it. Because I don't know if that works or not, but it's just the first thing that occurred to me.
You got a 50-50 chance.
Right. So, so we have the possibility of this being an urban legend. But if it is, what is Brian Bethel's angle? Trying to sell a story, trying to make a name for himself as a reporter, and it failed. Trying to, obviously it didn't fail. We know who he is. We've done 2 shows on him so far, or this phenomenon, and mentioned him. But if he's not asking for money from shows to tell his story, then, what is his angle? Is it just to pull one over on the public? Is he just a pathological liar? Is it an urban legend that he heard from someone else that thought, oh my God, this would make such a great story. Let's see if I can write it. And so he went, oh, back in 96 or, thereabouts, you know, um, yes, it said that black-eyed kids were sighted in Texas.
Well, I think there was also something that said they were sighted in Oregon,
Right.
and I saw something that talked about the Dakotas.
Yeah.
Mm.
It was Abilene, Texas, and Portland, Oregon. And I was looking for more, but that's just where it said it started. Um, but that's kind of the history of it, and it's kind of taken its own. It's taken a life of its own and moved forward. Now, something else that has recently done that is the Slender Man. The
Hmm.
Slender Man was a work of fiction created by an artist that has no basis whatsoever, as far as I know, in any history, mythology, uh, no sort of any sort of connotation to anything that's come before. It was a character that he created, and now people are swearing they're seeing this creature. They have stories of the Slender Man attacked my children, and I mean they made a movie out of it.
Hmm.
And the two girls a couple of years ago that stabbed that poor girl to death, thinking that if they killed her for Slender Man, then they would become his proxies. So these sort of stories can take on a life of their own.
Yeah, is that what's happened here?
I don't
He.
know. It just, you would think that if it had, that Brian Bethel would be reaching out to more media services and saying, make my movie, write my
Well,
book.
the problem
Yeah.
is we don't have enough information about what happened. We don't know.
True.
He can't remember when it happened. He didn't write about it the day after it happened. Is this a guy that was doing drugs one night and he thought he saw something and it was so real to him that years later he wrote about it?
But why wait
Or
that long? You know,
maybe he was afraid of ridicule.
it's possible. And, at the time he may have been known as a drug addict, who knows? Or
Hmm.
it may have been known that he made these fantastical stories or whatever.
But see, I
And,
think if he was a reporter that was known for that, he would have gotten fired.
right.
You know.
So it just makes me wonder. Um, There's a reading the chat room. If you're not in the chat room, you're missing out. And all the people in the chat room, hello. I'm waving at you. Um, it was with one
Hello,
finger,
people.
but still. No, but I'm looking at it from the point of taking all the fantastic out of it and just trying to see where this is going, why, how it got started, and you know, um, if there's any truth to the story. And honestly, we probably will never know because we weren't there. We don't know the history of this guy. Um, Maybe we should call him one day and ask him. We should
Oh,
have had
that
him
would
on the
be
show.
interesting. We could have had him on the show.
We should have had him on the show. And what's funny is there have been several times where uh, we've done a show on like the paranormal Shakti, and the guy who is currently head of the research for the paranormal Shakti contacted me after we did the show and said, "Hey, if you want me to be on the show, let me know, and I'd be more than happy to be there." And I'm like, "We did that show a week ago." And then there was another one. Oh, when we were doing the Dybbuk box, I got contacted by um, the current guy that owns it and the previous guy that owns it, both offering to come on the show and talk about it. And I was like, we've already done that show. But I did have Jason Haxton, and Jason is the guy that currently owns the Dybbuk box. He was one of the people that contacted me, and I did have him on the Steps Paranormal podcast, and I interviewed him about the Dybbuk box, and he actually sent me a autographed copy of his book where he documented everything that happened with the Dybbuk box, and it is the box that the movie The Possession is based on. So, Jenny, did you say Brian Bethel is going to be on Beyond Darkness Radio? I tell you what, never mind. But that might be an interesting show to listen to if we find out when it is.
Okay, according to Health Optometry, I lost my place. It said that the pupils constantly change in size to respond to the light. The larger they get, the more dilated they are. They can enlarge within the iris.
Right, but not within
That's it.
Not within the white. This, what is it?
Right,
The
they can't
sclera
dilate
or,
to be the whole eye.
right.
So the idea that the eyes are, chemically changed or altered, or it's so dark that they're dilated so much that it covers the whole eye, those kinds of things can't happen because that's not the way they work.
That's not the physicality of where that apparatus is located.
Right.
So there's also a condition where children do have, they're called black-eyed kids, I believe, but it's where I guess blood pools underneath the whites of the eyes, and it makes the whites darker, but I've never seen anyone that it actually made it black. It makes
Well,
if it's dark.
Yeah.
Well, no, but
But
it looks,
if blood is pooling in the eyes like that, though, there is a serious health problem, and I'd question somebody walking around like that.
right, and it is a serious thing, but I think it's where blood vessels are swollen or something like that. But it looks more grayish than it does black. I mean, it doesn't actually look like, at least the pictures I've seen didn't look black. They look like their eyes were swollen, and they look like I don't even know what color to describe it as, but it wasn't black. They were still white in there. It was still like a grayish kind of color.
Mm-hmm. Now, it's interesting, some of the drugs that they list that can dilate your eyes, over-the-counter things such as cold and cough medications, decongestants. Right. And then they list, illicit drugs like cocaine, marijuana, blah, 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 all those other things that we know.
Ecstasy will do it.
Yeah.
So I hear.
Yes, so you hear.
LSD will do it.
So you hear. Allegedly, you hear.
I understand.
Right. Well, we've kind of talked about some diseases or whatever, that could kind of cause this thing, or like wearing contacts. But some of the other possibilities that people are throwing out there are that these children are vampires, that they are a human alien hybrid, the grays with the black eyes, that they are the offspring of these grays that mate with humans when they're abducted and taken aboard the ships. They say they're actually aliens. Some people say they are lost souls that are trying to get into your house so they can possess you or haunt or whatever. And then, of course, the big D, demons. That they are demons that are actually trying to get into your house and are trying to, possess you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, there's one thing that I want to stop and cover.
You missed a couple.
Well, urban legend.
That the person themselves is possessed and their eyes go black because, something has possessed them. And let's see, what was the other one I saw? The devil. It's an incarnation of the devil.
Why would the devil appear as like 3 teenage children?
Who knows?
Oh, sorry.
Last I heard, Lucifer got tired of running hell and he's living in Los Angeles.
I know. That's a good show. I've actually started watching it.
It cracks me up.
Yeah. And he actually has he actually sometimes cares for people, and tries to help them in a weird, strange, he loves punishing people who deserve it, though.
Yeah.
He wants to punish people that deserve it. I've often wondered how many Christians think that that the show Lucifer is actually the devil trying to make people feel sorry for him so that they'll open their hearts to him and they can be possessed.
Oh God,
Because
there's tons.
I've watched the show, it's just a freaking show. It's a
It's based on a DC comic. Did you know that?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's basically artists and authors and writers who've come up with an original idea and they've ran with it. And it worked. So I wonder if they sold their soul to the devil for that. Anyway, back to the topic.
Okay, I found something in a true crime forensic file synopsis book that said atropine can be administered so that a person's eyes can dilate to the point of becoming totally black.
Really? How is that possible?
I don't know. I
The
can't
eye
read
would
any
have
more
to,
than
the
that.
white of the eye would have to physically
Yeah.
shrink.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't get any more information. I'd have to buy the book.
I would say the pictures that I've seen online, I mean, the whites they're still white, but there's just like the slenderest of color, around this massive pupil.
Right, and I have
So
seen that before.
I'm still seeing, even, I've been looking at like pictures of people on drugs and but the white is still there.
So what do you guys think about these other theories? Vampires, human alien hybrids, aliens, lost souls, demons, possessed, the devil.
I think it's more likely these people are on drugs or they want to see what they want to see.
Yeah, or I'm kind of leaning toward the Slender Man theory.
Yeah.
This is
That people are getting freaked out by the urban legend.
Yeah,
and,
the urban legend.
something weird happens, and so they attribute it to it because, like, Wizard's first rule, people will believe something to be true because they want it to be true or
Right.
they fear it to be true.
Right.
And I've seen it happen hundreds of times with people.
Yep. Ditto that. We've talked before on the show about, fear is a pretty powerful emotion, and it can cause you to do things. It can cause you to see things. Even sane people can get so scared that they see something that isn't really there simply because that's the way their brain is interpreting the fear.
Well, the thing that I'm fascinated by are group hallucinations. People that, as a group are hallucinating the exact same thing.
Well,
at
have
least
you ever
similar
seen those
things.
experiments on, like 60 Minutes and 2020 and, magazine shows where somebody is standing under a tree looking up and, they stand there long enough to look up that other people will stop and look up to see what they're looking at.
Yeah.
And then somebody will say, "Oh, I see it."
Yeah.
But there's nothing there. There never was anything there.
Yeah, there was
But then all of a sudden people in the crowd are going, "Oh, I see it." And nobody even really said what it was.
And there was an experiment done by a college or university. I don't remember where, when, how, why. I just remember reading about it, where they would do that in an elevator. That someone would get on the elevator and they would stand facing the back of the elevator. And after a while, other people would turn around and start facing the back of the elevator as well. And they were studying why humans feel the need to follow those sort of social patterns. Is it because they don't want to be left out? Is it because they think that person knows something they don't? Or, all kinds of different stuff. But, yeah, and they've even said that, people in a high stress situation, like someone who's getting robbed or a bank gets robbed, and 8 people see the suspect's face and give 8 different descriptions of it because stress and adrenaline do something to the short-term memory or long-term memory one, where it makes it inaccurate. And so it could be something like this. But out of all these vampires, human alien hybrids, aliens, lost souls, demons, possessed, the ones that make the most sense to me are the human alien hybrids, aliens themselves possibly, or lost souls. Now, why a lost soul would have black eyes, I don't know. But, I can't say it's not true.
See, I think if it was a lost soul, I think there would be other physical phenomenon
They go along
that
with it.
would go along with the eyes.
That makes sense. That makes sense to me. There would be a coloration of the skin that would be not olive. And see, that's one of the two things that make me think that if this is a true story, that it could be alien human hybrids. One, you've got the grays and you've got the greens, which are the aliens that a lot of people have seen in the past. They're the ones with the big black eyes and the tinted skin, and they have the big bulbous heads and the thin bodies. And so with the tint of the skin, it makes me think that it could be a human alien hybrid. And um, and I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm just saying of all of these scenarios, this one makes more sense to me than vampires, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, because one, vampires don't want you to know they exist. They are a secret for a reason, because you people would freak out if you found out about them. And two, they would not show up with black eyes because that would throw you off. And if they want to feed on you, why would they scare you? Please, people, think.
I remember watching a vampire movie. It had to have been a movie. It had to have been a black and white movie because I don't like horror movies. And the only kind of, spooky movies that I'll watch are from, those campy 1940, 1950 movies. But the vampire looked regular just like you and me until his fangs came out and his eyes turned black.
Right, and that's generally what happens. And if I told you why, I'd have to kill you all, and that is
If
so
you
much
believed
work.
in vampires, of course.
I'm not saying I do. No, but I wrote a vampire book. That's why I'm saying that.
Yes, I know. It's a
But
good book, too. People should go get it. Why
thank
don't
you.
you tell them the name?
It's called Shadowborn, and it is available on Amazon.com.
There you go.
But you know, um, with vampires, they're going to hide. If it were vampires, they would hide as long as possible until they can feed on you. They're not going to give you a head start.
See, I want to sit somebody down and ask them some questions. When they say that these kids have olive skin, I want them to describe to me what that means, because that can cover, a gazillion shades. I have some Italian friends who say that they have olive skin. That's what they call themselves. They say they
Right.
have olive skin. And if you look at them long enough with that in your head, you can see olive skin.
Now,
So that when I first heard that, it made me think of some of the original gypsies,
right.
which were Italian.
Now, if they have olive skin, do they taste like olives? Because, like, I've always wondered. No, but right, I would love to talk to someone who's actually had an experience with a true black-eyed kid or thinks that they have, because I am fascinated by this. And we talked on the last show when we were talking about this, and someone said, "What would you do if they knocked on your door and you felt uncomfortable and you looked and all of a sudden you realized they had black eyes?" I would start asking them questions. I would be the one that you never heard from again. Because I'd be like, "Oh, why are your eyes black? Why do you have olive skin? Does it taste like real olives? What do you want? Why do you want to use my phone? Where do you need to go? What are you doing right now? Where did you come from? How old are you?" And then they would just like take me just to shut me up and like knock me out or something. But I don't know. What would you guys do if a black-eyed kid knocked on your door?
Close it.
Sushi, can you hear us? She's having really bad problems right now.
Ruh-roh.
Ruggy. Yeah,
Well,
she's
let me ask you a question since we're
yes.
having problems with sushi.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm sorry. I'm
that's
here.
well, let
I
me
don't
ask you
think
both.
I would, invite them in. That's for sure.
I wouldn't invite them in, but I would talk to them. I'd say, why can't you come in without an invitation? What's stopping you? Because
Yeah.
I'm
Why are
curious.
you standing? And then I would check their, system for drugs. I don't know.
And
Well, as
contacts.
paranormal investigators, let me ask you, have you ever been called to do an investigation where people have told you that they saw something physically that seemed like it was out of place, not ghost-like? Like, somebody came to knock on their door and they had red eyes. They were afraid, their eyes glowed, or they had an aura around them and they were afraid to let them in, stuff like that.
I've heard
Mhm.
not necessarily of people that they said, you know, had certain colored eyes or whatever, but I have heard animals. They would say, I looked out in the yard and there was something out there with red glowing eyes and it looked like a wolf or a dog or a something, you know.
Hmm.
But I've never heard, I don't think, of actually a person, like they saw a person or anything like that. Sushi?
Yeah, no, I can't. I'm just saying, I can't think of anything, any case that we worked that they weren't sure it was like a ghost, or that it wasn't. It was not a full person. Do you know what I'm saying? It was like
Right.
not. There was no mistaking that it was ghostly.
You're cutting out really bad, Sushi. Um, it,
I know. Everybody's off. I don't know what the hell.
Evil in the chat room said if somebody knocked on his door, he'd tell them to go away. It's not frickin' Halloween.
yeah. Triggered. Or like they're like,
No trick or no.
can we use your phone and start handing out candy? I'd be like, what's this for? Oh, is it not
Candygram.
Halloween? No, Candygram, flowers. Um,
And then the other side of the story is some of this stuff about not being able to come in without an invitation. Was that in this reporter's original story, or is that something that has been embellished onto this legend? Because that's what you have to do to get a vampire to come in. You have to invite them into the house
well,
first.
that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about is that there is this whole theory on demons and vampires and evil ghosts, what have you, but especially demons, that a demon cannot come into your house without an invitation. And I think this goes back to the old stories where, like the old Greek tragedies, where the person does it to themselves. They are
Hmm.
their own demise. And I don't think it has any basis in fact whatsoever. Because I don't think if demons are real, that someone would willingly invite one into their house unless they were a Satan worshiper and thought they were going to get something out of it. But I don't see an innocent child that is 14 or 15 years old that is being possessed. I don't see them willingly inviting a demon in. You know, so I think this whole idea of inviting evil in is falling back on that old Greek tragedy play on human foibles, where where the protagonist often, or even the antagonist, often does themselves in through their own actions. Like what was the story where the king went to a seer and the seer said, "Your son will kill you," and so his son was a certain age, so he tried to kill his son, and someone snuck the son away, and the son grew up hating the father. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because of him going to the seer, it created the self-fulfilling prophecy because she saw that he was going to react the way he did according to her information and try to kill the son. The son was going to grow up hating the father and was going to come back and get revenge and take over the kingdom. So had he done nothing, that child would have grown up completely fine. It's that whole doing yourself in, you can do yourself more harm than anyone else can, and I don't think it's any more than that. If demons are as powerful as people say they are, then I don't see them needing your human permission to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I recently had a conversation with someone who teaches about demons and demonology and legend and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that we were talking about is when you say the word demon, it means so many different things to so many different people based on what it is they believe and where they're from. To some people, a demon is actually a guardian over, over hell. They keep the bad people in hell. They're the gatekeepers that don't let them out. To Christians, a demon is a messenger of the devil.
And that's because that's what they've been force-fed, spoon-fed, in ignorance their whole lives. Some of them, not all of them.
Just like, they've taken all of the stories of the devil and they've put names on it to fit the beliefs of other people, like Lucifer and Beelzebub and I can't think
Baal.
Some of the others. So that
were old pagan gods.
Exactly.
And they vilified them to make them into something evil, so that whoever was worshiping
Christianity.
Them, whoever was worshiping them at the time, could go, "Oh my God, you're right. There is a Lucifer over here." And Lucifer was the son of. I always forget. I always get this wrong. I may have to look it up. But he's not. He's a mythological figure. He's not what the Bible actually makes him out to be. And in the Bible, they call even. Well, I was just going to say they actually call in the Bible they call the devil the Satan, which it means the adversary. And it was believed that he was the ones that would prosecute those on Judgment Day. He would be the prosecuting attorney. He was the adversary of Jesus who would try to defend the soul, and the Satan would try to condemn the soul. Say, "Oh, but on Tuesday, look what he did to this puppy. He kicked it." And it had no dealings with the devil or anything else. But what were you going to say?
That was it.
Okay. Yeah. But, there's just so much that people throughout history have perverted and changed and twisted to their own ends so that they could get people to follow them or fear something else and follow them because they were the lesser of two evils or whatever, Donald Trump. But, no, I'm just kidding, Donald Trump. But
okay, I went on search about the olive skin part, and the reporter says that when this first happened to him, there were two boys. One of them was redheaded, pale-skinned, and freckled, and the other one was olive-skinned with curly hair.
Okay.
Now, you could simply be talking about, two kids from two different regions of the world. If you're talking about a redhead with pale skin, I would be thinking about, a Celt, someone from Scotland and Ireland. Mm-hmm. An olive-skinned, curly-headed kid, to me, that would automatically make me think of Italy.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not that all of these kids, when they appear to somebody, are olive-skinned. That changes the story a little bit.
Yeah. And who honestly knows? I mean, there are probably people out there that honestly think they've encountered a black-eyed kid when they haven't, because it was based on fear and misunderstanding, et cetera, et cetera. If there's a black-eyed kid listening right now to this show, please contact me at Paul@Enigma. Now watch me get all kinds of weird emails where people are messing around.
You're asking for it.
Call me at Sushi. What's your phone number? Call me at 423. So Lucifer, Latin light bringer, Greek phosphorus or Eosphorus In classical mythology, the morning star, the planet Venus at dawn, I believe he was Venus' son, personified as a male figure bearing a torch, Lucifer had almost no legend, but in poetry he was often heralded of the dawn. In Christian times, Lucifer came to be regarded as the name of Satan before his fall. It was thus used by John Milton in 1608-1674 in Paradise Lost, and the idea underlies the proverbial phrase, as proud as Lucifer. So, you know, I don't know. A lot of things have been perverted by history and the Bible and men that want to control other men and have power over people. So who knows? I mean, I don't believe black-eyed kids are the devil. I don't believe they're demons. My guess is if they're real, they're human-alien hybrids. But I'm not saying that's what they are, just the thing that makes the most sense to me. What do you guys think? I mean, honestly, I think it's an urban legend. But what are your final thoughts? Because we need to move on to Truth or Tale because we're almost out of time.
No. Yeah, I'm the same. I'm leaning. I'm urban legend. Yeah, mass hysteria.
I found another an interview he did that's in more detail, and he talks about the kids coming up to the car and he's talking to them and they want to go see the movie Mortal Kombat, and that he was a little unnerved when they walked up to the car because he didn't see them before. He stopped to pay his bill at something and he was dropping it off in the drop box.
Right.
So he was a little unnerved when they came in the car. And when he was talking to them, he just felt like something wasn't right. The boys tried to reassure him, telling him that they didn't have a gun. That line kind of made this guy feel a little more nervous and unnerving. He broke his gaze with them for a moment while he, checked the lock on the doors of his car. And when he looked back up, he felt an exploded vortex of all-consuming terror. And it was at that moment where he said the coal black eyes of the kids were staring back at him. That line alone tells me his own fear caused him to see something that may not have truly happened. I think this is more of, I believe he believes this is what happened.
Right.
I believe that he's truly convinced that's what happened. But I think the story came more from he got so scared that that's what he saw. Right. Because being down in Texas, he's probably Christian. He was probably raised on this stuff. He probably heard some of these stories before. Right. He probably heard some of these stories before about the devil and the black eyes and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. And he overreacted and adrenaline kicked in, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. All right. So we are going to move on to Truth or Tale. If you are not familiar with this game, it's basically where I have 3 stories I'm going to read, and you have to decide if it's crazy enough to be true or just so stupid that I made it up, and honestly, sometimes you can't tell the difference. So number 1, scientists in Chile have grown a dinosaur leg on a chicken. Truth or Tale? Scientists in Chile have grown a dinosaur leg on a chicken. Truth or Tale?
No.
It'll be the next best thing at KFC from Christmas.
T-Rex legs.
Dinosaur legs from KFC.
The crispy original recipe.
Yeah. Original recipe.
Always go original recipe.
Yeah. See, my question would be what dinosaur? Because don't they say that chickens are dinosaurs, like alligators are dinosaurs?
That's why they had to pick the chicken, because the genes are similar.
Right.
Okay. I don't get it, but I'll say it's true.
I'm going to Tale.
Okay. So that is the truth.
Shut up.
Although it's a little misleading because it's not exactly what you think it is. Scientists managed to turn part of a chicken back into a dinosaur. Modern chickens might not look particularly vicious. Apparently, you've never been chased by one. But inside their bodies, they possess many genetic throwbacks from a time when their distant ancestors were large carnivorous carnivorous reptiles. But is it really possible to turn back the clock and transform a chicken into a velociraptor? To find out, scientists at the University of Chile recently conducted a reverse evolution experiment involving a lower leg bone called the fibula, which was believed to be long and tube-shaped in dinosaurs, but is now short and splinter-like in modern birds. With a bit of genetic tinkering, the researchers were able to effectively disable the gene which limits the fibular's growth in chickens, thus creating a modern bird with the leg bone of a dinosaur. The
I need a
experiments are
picture.
yeah, there is one. The experiments are focused on single traits to test specific hypotheses, said evolutionary biologist Alexander Vargas, one of the scientists involved in the project. Not only do we know a great deal about bird development, but also about the dinosaur bird transition, which is well documented by the fossil record. Whether we will ever be able to genetically rewind an entire bird, however, remains to be seen.
Turducken Rex is evil.
Oh my God. But what it is you know how a chicken's foot looks. It's got that rough kind of scaly texture to it. It's a little bit thicker, I think, and it's there are pictures. You can type it in and look for it and find it. Too bad we can't.
Tater grabbed it for us.
Okay.
Oh.
Is
No,
this
he didn't.
never mind.
Never mind.
Okay. Thanks, Tater. Thanks, Tater Jim. But there are pictures of it out there. Okay. So number 2, optical data storage squeezes 360 terabytes onto a quartz crystal forever. Truth or tale? Optical data storage, the way they're processing it, can squeeze 360 terabytes onto a quartz crystal forever. Is that truth or tale? Truth or tale?
I'd say truth, but you would have to define forever.
Yeah, everything.
Forever.
True.
All right, so you're saying
I'm going
true.
reluctant true.
Reluctantly truth. And Spring, you said?
I said true, but you'd have to define forever.
Okay.
That's 2 reluctant trues.
Right. Wow, you guys are, a hard audience here. That is the truth.
Ooh.
Optical data storage. Want to make sure you back something up indefinitely? Then you could do worse than a digital data storage technique that uses laser light to store 360 terabytes of information on nanostructured quartz for up to 14 billion years. Developed by researchers.
Forever.
Well, it is from our point of view, it is. Developed by researchers at Southampton University in the UK, the technique uses femtosecond laser pulses to write data in the 3D structure of quartz at the nanoscale. The pulses create 3 layers of nanostructured dots, each 5 dot. I can't read today, apparently. Each just 5 microns above the other. The changes in the structure can be read by interrogating the sample with another pulse of light and recording its polarization, the orientation of the waves after it's passed through. The team has now written a series of major works to small glass discs, including the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Newton's Optics, the Magna Carta, and the King James Bible. The density of the data aboard these disks suggests that they could squeeze a total of 360 terabytes into a single piece of quartz. They also point out that the data is extremely stable. It can endure for as long as 13.8 billion years at temperatures up to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So I think that proves right there that what pagans have been saying all along, that quartz can store energy. Now they're proving it by storing laser data and stuff like that. So you're welcome. But anyway, cool. So number 3, in China, paranormal investigators are called Ani Ut Sama, or loosely translated, fools who chase their own tails around in the dark while breaking wind. Truth or tale? In China,
I'm going to go tail with this one.
in China, paranormal investigators are called I can't even say it, Annie Yutit Ma, or loosely translated, fools who chase their own tails around in the dark while breaking wind, truth or tale.
See, it kind of gives new meaning to the word I'm going to say. This is tail.
Chasing tail.
That's true. You're at Annie Yutit Ma, whatever it is.
Tail, tail, tail.
All right. So you're both saying truth. Good. You're both saying tail. That is a tail. I completely made that up.
Yay.
Because I could.
Because there it is. Because, China.
Because, yeah, that's exactly right. Because China. But yeah, that is
Awesome.
That is the truth. But unfortunately, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Enigma Project. We're going to call this show Did, and move on to brighter, greener, better pasture. I don't know what I'm talking about. But join us next week when our topic will be animals possessing humans, and animals possessing people. And that will be a very interesting topic. I'm looking forward to it. I've got some research to do because I don't know a lot about this, as with every topic we talk about on the show, apparently. But I want to thank everyone who joined us in the chat room. You guys are awesome. All the people that listen live, all the people that listen on iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, all that. You guys are awesome. We appreciate you guys. If you enjoyed this show, then please help spread the word by giving us a review on iTunes or whatever you listen on. If you don't enjoy the show, please don't give us a bad review. Well, I mean, if you honestly feel it, I guess you could. But we're trying to get the word out there so that more people will listen and we can get more listeners and hopefully get a new host that knows what they're doing. So I want to thank everyone for listening. You guys have a great Monday. Have a great rest of the week. And we will see you all next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.